Hello, this is Dave from Old Guy Hustle. This is my next stop on my Get Busy Living series, and we're going to the Museum of Aviation in Warner Robins, Georgia. Going to show you several different airplanes that they have here that I've flown in while I was in the United States Air Force, and I hope you enjoy the video, and here we go. Alright, that is a B-52 bomber. I'll walk up closer to it here. It's one of the airplanes that I have flown in. When I was in the Air Force, we used to get orientation rides on airplanes. I trained aircrew members on the effects of flying at altitude. And this is a B-52D Stratofortress. Let's see. It first became operational in 1955. B-52 has been the main, let's see, nearly 750 B-52s were built when production ended in October 1963. 170 of the D models. Yeah, that's the one I flew on was actually built in 1959, and I was born in 1960, so it's talking about this one, this particular airplane last flew in August 1983 from 7th Bomb Wing, Carswell Air Force Base, Texas. That's where I flew out of when I flew in the B-52. Yeah, it's pretty cool airplane. Basically, you've got a pilot and co-pilot up front here, and then there's an area behind the pilot and co-pilot where I believe there's a navigator back there. I don't remember all the crew members. I know there is a crew member that sits behind the pilot and co-pilot, and that actually, you can kind of see it up there. That's a window. Yeah, they got 8 engines on them, 4 on each wing. It's a huge airplane. That's nice. They put a park bench underneath the wing so you can sit in the shade. Yeah, when I flew on the B-52, it was we were in the air for 8 straight hours. They don't have a tail gunner per se. They do have guns on the back to protect from like fighters and stuff, but that's all controlled from inside. There's a area in the bottom of the airplane that they sit in. It looks like they're, I don't know, maybe they once upon a time they did actually have a tail gunner, but nobody's, even when I flew on it, and that was in the mid 80s, there was nobody actually in the airplane or back there. They were up front. You climb up into the airplane from the belly. Should be a hatch somewhere around here that you get into it. Man, it's so much cooler in the shade. Yeah, I think there's a hatch like right in here somewhere that they open up and you can climb up into the airplane. There's an area in the belly of the airplane where a weapons officer, the bombardier, and also the tail gunner sit. That might be the hatch there. I don't remember exactly. A long time ago. Alright, that's one airplane I flew in. This one over here is another airplane that I flew in. I believe that's a C-141. If not, I'll edit this out of that video, my video. This is primarily a cargo airplane. Yeah, this is C-141 Starlifter. There is a bigger cargo airplane that the Air Force uses, the C-5. Walk up and look at this. And I know they're still flying these. This one came out of Travis Air Force Base in California. Cost $8.1 million per airplane. Yeah, I bet you they wouldn't cost that now. I wouldn't even want to dream how much a plane like this would cost. This one was called the Caboose. I don't know why. Must have been the last airplane to fly in any formations, I guess. Once again, another big airplane. It's got 4 bigger engines on it than what the B-52. The B-52 had 8. It's sitting awful low to the ground. I don't remember them sitting that low to the ground, but a lot of times when you see like them dropping cargo out of the back of airplanes and guys jumping out, parachute, Army guys jumping out, that's in these. That hatch right there underneath the star, they are that's what's opened up, so that that's the ramp so they can load it, and also they can get people out of it. Pretty cool. They do have a bigger one, the C-5, a bigger cargo jet, the C-5. And I'm just moving into the shade. And there's the B-52 over there. So you can kind of see the difference in size. It's amazing that the B-52 is the last one they built, well, let's say 63. And they're still flying them today. Absolutely incredible. Alright, there's a few other airplanes outside here, I think, that I've flown on. I'm going to walk around and see if I can find them. Alright, this is the next airplane. Well, I shouldn't say next because I don't know what order I'm going to put these in, but when I do put the video together. But this is another airplane that I've flown on. This is the AC-130. Actually, I've flown on several of these. One was a orientation flight, like I talked about earlier. I've flown when I was in the Air National Guard. I flew in one of these from Kansas down to New Mexico. And this is AC-130A Spectra. Said something about is converted to a side-firing gunship for night attacks against ground troops. Okay, so this one isn't necessarily a cargo, but the only thing I think they did to them is they put guns on them, and bigger guns on them. And I know that inside, yeah, there's the guns over there. Okay, I know inside they have one that's fully outfitted with the guns. Got a bunch of camels on there. I don't know what what that means. Maybe terrorists. But yeah, there's the cannon sticking out of the side of it. So I've seen videos of the 130 gunships, C-130 gunships, and yeah, they're. I think the one that they have inside actually has more armament than that, more weapons than that. Primarily, though, the C-130s were used as a cargo airplane, troop hauler. My first wife's father flew C-130s in Vietnam. So, didn't talk about it a whole lot, but he did tell me that he would fly troops in to Vietnam from the Philippines, and then he would fly body bags back out. So, not very pleasant. He was a pilot in the Air Force. He was a lieutenant colonel when he retired. But yeah, that's the C-130. Alright. Okay, this is another airplane that I flew in when I was in the Air Force. This is a T-37 airplane. It is one of the trainers that they used in my time. I don't know if they still use it or not. But it's a two-seat aircraft, and pilot, co-pilot, or student pilot would sit this. This is the first airplane that they would fly. They called it the Tweet or the Tweety Bird. I remember it had a very high pitched, the engines had a very high pitch to them, and they were very noisy. I worked right across the street from the flight line, so that's what I'd hear all day long. They were constantly flying these all day. I don't know, they probably had close to 100 of these airplanes. And it's a pretty cool airplane to fly in. Didn't go real fast. I remember when I flew in it, we had to do a loop in it. We had to get to the highest altitude we were allowed to go, and then go into a dive just about to the lowest altitude in order to build up enough airspeed to pull it back up and bring it around the loop. I did get an opportunity to actually fly the airplane for a little bit. The pilot gave me the controls of the airplane and allowed me to fly it for a little bit, which is pretty cool. I didn't do much. I didn't do a loop, but I did some turns and things like that, rocking the wings and things like that. So pretty cool. It is equipped with ejection seats. It's one of the things I trained pilots and student pilots on, was ejection seat procedures. This particular airplane, you had to have I forget what the numbers are, but you had to have a certain airspeed and a certain amount of airspeed and altitude in order to eject safely from this. If you didn't, you wouldn't get a full parachute over your head. The modern day airplanes, you could be sitting still just like this on the ground and eject out of them, and obviously not inside a building, but eject and get a full parachute over your head. This airplane, you can't do that. So if you were on the ground and you had an emergency, you had to just basically crawl out of it and run away from it as fast as you could. I'll see what the top airspeed is on this thing. Max airspeed is 410 miles per hour. So that's not very fast for an airplane. They could go 650 miles as their range, and the highest they could fly is 35,000 feet. It is a pressurized cabin, just like in a commercial airliner, where it would keep you down below 10,000. Above 10,000 feet, you can't breathe, get enough oxygen. And that's the other thing I used to teach about. It's called hypoxia. So, pretty cool airplane. Okay, I apologize, but they didn't have these last two airplanes. This is the T-38. It is a second trainer that student pilots flew in. I flew in this as well. Pretty cool, like a fighter jet type of airplane. Equipped with ejection seat. It is actually a supersonic jet. It can break the speed of sound. We didn't when I flew in it, but I also got the opportunity to take control of this airplane and fly it as well. Once again, just some simple turns, things like that. But yeah, pretty cool airplane. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the last airplane here is the KC-135. This is the refueling jet. There's actually a bigger version of this now that they fly. But yeah, I'm sure you've seen videos of airplanes being refueled midair. This is a tanker airplane, and Yeah, I got to fly in this. Got to see actually I've seen a B-52 be refueled from this airplane, the KC-135, and also from the B-52. I got to watch the refueling process. Pretty cool that they can do that. I mean, they can basically keep an airplane flying 24 hours a day by refueling midair. So, yeah, it is absolutely cool. And that is it as far as the different airplanes that I've flown in. There's 6 of them all together that I have here, and I do appreciate you coming along and watching these videos. I just had to film this. This is a POW memorial statue dedicated in 2008. And they've got all the branches of the military. There's the Marine Corps. There's the U.S. Coast Guard. There's the United States Air Force. And then a plaque for the POW MIAs. You are not forgotten. There are still missing soldiers and airmen. That's the Department of the Army. And my brother served in the U.S. Navy, so I thought it was pretty cool with the eagle on top. I'm gonna make sure I get a few pictures. I like that waving flag in the middle. It's pretty cool. That is pretty cool, especially with the eagle. Alright, I'm gonna head into some air conditioning. Alright, we're gonna end it here with just a still shot of the memorial. And I do appreciate you all coming along and watching the video. It's been enjoyable to talk about the Aviation Museum, my experiences in the Air Force. And if you got any questions, definitely leave a comment below. Give me a like. If you're new, sub to the channel. Appreciate it. And comments also are appreciated as well. You all have a blessed day.